Most men walk through life hoping to be chosen. They operate from a place of quiet desperation, seeking validation in every interaction, trying to earn affection like it's a reward. They think attention equals value, so they chase. But the nonchalant man doesn't play by those rules. He moves differently. He carries an energy that says, "I'm already enough." That's what makes him magnetic. He doesn't try to impress, doesn't chase, doesn't even flinch when a woman pulls away. Because deep down, he's not operating from emotional hunger. He's operating from internal abundance. His self-worth isn't tied to anyone's approval. That independence, emotional, mental, spiritual, changes everything. Women aren't used to it. They're used to being the center of attention, to being pursued with compliments, gifts, and eager conversations. So when a man appears who doesn't orbit around them, it disrupts their expectations. It makes them curious. That curiosity is the spark. Why isn't he trying to win me, she wonders. And that very question marks the beginning of obsession. You see, the male need to chase is common. But when a woman senses that a man is completely full on his own, not lacking anything, she suddenly wants to be part of his story. Not because he begged for her, but because he didn't. That's the paradox of masculine abundance. When you need nothing, everything comes to you. The nonchalant man isn't cold. He's calm. He doesn't avoid connection. He just doesn't depend on it. And that unnerves women in the most powerful way. It makes them chase not to be validated, but to be chosen. And for a woman who's used to being the prize, there's nothing more addicting than the one man who isn't trying to win her, but somehow already has her attention completely. When a woman senses she can't easily influence a man emotionally, her instincts shift. Most women test subtly or directly to see where a man stands. She pulls back to see if he'll lean in. She goes silent to see if he'll panic and overcompensate. She plays with her moods to observe if he'll break, and most men do. They rush to fix, to explain, to apologize. But the nonchalant man does none of that. He doesn't chase what withdraws. He allows the distance. He doesn't see her silence as a threat. He sees it as her emotional process, and he gives it space. That ability to remain unshaken in the face of feminine chaos is rare. It's not indifference, it's mastery. A man who doesn't flinch when tested signals something powerful. Your emotions are not my responsibility. And that unnerves her, because she's used to power through emotional leverage. She's used to men reacting. But when she gets nothing back, no over-apology, no emotional spike, she starts questioning her own tactics. She wonders why her usual moves don't work. That curiosity slowly turns into intrigue. He becomes the puzzle she can't solve, the mystery she wants to unlock. And in that process, she begins to project onto him. She starts assigning meaning to his silence, creating fantasies in her mind, imagining depth and intensity when in truth, he's just grounded. He doesn't interrupt the illusion because he doesn't need to. That restraint makes him unforgettable. Most men rush to prove they care, but the nonchalant man understands that emotional composure is more powerful than emotional noise, and by not playing the game, he rewrites it entirely. His lack of reaction becomes the exact reason she feels drawn, pulled, and eventually addicted not to him, but to how she feels when he doesn't move. The nonchalant man is a master of restraint. While most men speak to be heard, he speaks with purpose. He doesn't overtalk, overshare, or emotionally bleed in an attempt to build connection. His words are measured. His presence does the talking. And that's exactly why women lean in. He doesn't flood the space with constant opinions or emotional disclosures. Instead, he lets silence build tension. He's not uncomfortable with it, he owns it. That calm pause, that thoughtful delay before speaking, signals control. It tells her he isn't scrambling for her approval. He's observing, processing, deciding whether she even earns more access. That alone creates gravity. She starts chasing conversation. Not because of what he says, but because of what he holds back. His mystery is not crafted, it's natural. He doesn't hide things to play games. He simply doesn't expose what hasn't been earned. And in a world full of men who try to buy intimacy through emotional vulnerability too early, that discipline is rare and magnetic. She starts watching his face for clues, listening to his tone, trying to decode his stillness. Her curiosity deepens, because humans don't crave what's abundant, they crave what's scarce. His attention is scarce. His validation is scarce, and that scarcity creates emotional value. Most men give it all away up front. They try to win her with transparency, thinking that honesty alone builds desire. But the nonchalant man knows timing is everything. He reveals when he's ready, not when she demands. And because of that, every piece of him becomes more valuable. His story, his time, his attention, they all feel rare. And that rarity is addictive. She doesn't fall for his openness, she falls for his ability to withhold without flinching. Because what he gives means little, but what he withholds means everything. The nonchalant man never steps into a woman's world. He builds his own, and either she aligns with it or she fades into the background. He owns the frame. That means he sets the emotional tone, the pace, the boundaries. He doesn't lose himself trying to match her mood or chase her approval. He doesn't shift his values to keep her around. And because of that, she respects him. Women don't truly crave the men who chase. They're flattered by it, entertained by it, but they don't value it. What they value is the man who makes them rise. The man who silently demands more by offering nothing but his presence. That's what the nonchalant man does. He doesn't need to say, I have standards. She feels it. She adjusts her tone, softens her attitude, becomes more feminine in his presence, not because he told her to, but because he doesn't tolerate anything less. His world has rules, and she senses them. That subtle power rewires the dynamic. She starts seeking his validation, not through words, but through behavior. She puts in more effort, dresses with more intention, speaks with more thought. Why? Because his energy tells her, I don't need you, but I'll make space if you're worth it. That conditional access creates gravity. Women are used to being pursued without merit. They're used to men working for their attention by default. But when a man makes her earn a seat at his table through consistency, softness, and effort, she feels something she hasn't felt in a long time. Challenged. That challenge activates a deeper desire, not just to win his attention, but to keep it, because now she's no longer the prize. He is, and she knows if she fumbles, he won't lecture or argue, he'll simply disappear. And that possibility keeps her fully invested. Pressure exposes most men. When a woman tests them with attitude, withdrawal, or emotional heat, they panic. They react, raise their voice, explain, defend, apologize, anything to regain her favor. But the nonchalant man doesn't engage in that dance. He doesn't chase chaos with emotion. He meets it with stillness. That stillness isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the kind of strength that can't be faked, only built. While she throws emotional wind, he remains the mountain, grounded, steady, unmoved. And that contrast speaks louder than anything he could say. It tells her he cannot be controlled through emotion. He's not afraid to lose her, and that changes everything. A woman cannot respect a man she can emotionally dominate, but the man who remains composed while she spirals, that's the one she starts to admire. Deep down, women don't want a man who mirrors their emotional waves. They want a man who anchors them, not through dominance, but through unwavering presence. And the nonchalant man becomes that anchor. He doesn't try to win her back with emotion. He holds his frame, and that restraint makes her soften. Her storm runs out of fuel when he doesn't react. She starts to reflect. She starts to shift, because now, she's no longer in control. He is. Not by force, but by refusal. He refuses to be moved by fear, drama, or insecurity. That emotional leadership pulls her in. It makes her feel safe. And in that safety, she finds submission, not out of weakness, but out of deep respect. She sees he is unshakable. And for a woman wired for emotional turbulence, nothing is more attractive than a man who can remain still in the storm. He doesn't prove himself, he just is. And that presence alone changes everything. Because mountains don't chase the wind. They endure it.